those ducks were like laughing at me. Scupper Lake.
There was a slap wager.
Dark Showdown. Everyone says where we are going to have Nick Paltry over here on the left side of the screen, being our player one. Did I get it right? I did. I guessed, and it worked. So that'll be Nick P there. And on the right is going to be the old Nick M, but he's not playing Guardians. Bless you. He is playing Convocation.
Convocation.
Intended for certain audiences. Okay. Build an extension, manage access. Allow this extension to know your user ID. Okay, so I grant it its thing. And then how do I actually use it, though? There's nothing down there. If I click it, Baldur's Gate 3 is an extension, blah.
Behind them. Well, Skullwoods doesn't really usually have that many checks, but the point stands.
Dr. D has a question for you.
Yes.
He says, what do you think of the dungeon door that is the studio front door? Did panic cross your mind in any way or any point of me unlocking the door and telling you to come in? He actually came in with me. We were carrying stuff in.
Well, then I had to come back a second time, and I did have like that brief.
Huh. He'll have to, if he doesn't lay a. Why don't you make like a layoff and leave?
My brain just doesn't work that way, making up puns and stuff.
We like to do things correctly, and puns are specifically built for people's brains that find things that are broken. And we are live. Not only are we live here for your Thursday night Crisis Talk, it's Wait, Did I Roll a Wild? Your Marvel Crisis Protocol vlog. And to one very specific listener from Australia, your favorite World of Warcraft add-on. Wait, did I roll a wild? So, I am joined with Dan. Tonight we are going to be talking about a couple things. AMG announced in a transmission just a handful of days ago that leading up to GenCon, they are going to be having a mini kind of like preview for MINISTRAVAGANZA, which is going to be next month, right before GenCon. So the last time we saw one of the... so we were talking about that. Dan and I played a bunch of games recently. We've gotten to try out M'Baku and Claw, as well as a whole bunch of Shatterpoint stuff. Did a kind of a second demo game with Vex today for Shadowpoint. Got to play some Inquisitorious against...
Gotta say it like that.
Right, against Oops All Droids. So, it was a lot of fun, and I really like the local scene. Seems to like Shatterpoint quite a bit, which is always dope. But next week, GenCon, August 2nd, right before GenCon really kicks into full swing, we're going to have this little mini teaser for MINISTRAVAGANZA. So, I am very speculative. Dan, also, I have a feeling that you might also be feeling relatively speculative.
So much speculation. We've had some of this specific speculation since March.
Correct. And outside of the stuff that was announced at March at Adepticon, which, by the way, it's super cool to look up in the Google images like Goonhammer and all of these other like podcasters and sites and blogs and stuff using the pictures from the stream with our logo in the bottom left.
I love it.
So tonight, very specifically, we're going to be talking about two of our favorite characters that were announced at Adepticon that we haven't seen stuff for yet, and we're really hoping that during MINISTRAVAGANZA we see a lot for them. That is Iceman and Bishop. We know these characters are coming out. We know that Bishop has a couple cool heads. So that's what we're going to be mainly speculating on tonight. But I was going somewhere else with that, and I already forgot where it was.
You're talking about GenCon.
That's right, GenCon. So we're hoping that part of that MINISTRAVAGANZA spoiler will be some information on some of our favorite mutants. I'm also super excited for Shadow King and Professor X, as well as Kitty Pryde and Nightcrawler.
I'm so pumped for that whole X-Men release. Like that's like almost the end of my wish list. There's just like Archangel and Phantom X left. That's about it.
So
And
here's
then everything else I'll be so happy about, but it's not like those are the ones I'm really waiting for.
here's the thing. Normally, Dan, when you make a speculation, I'm like, that's a thing. Ooh, well, that was the wrong one. That was the wrong one. Whoo, we were on the wrong page for that. Gotcha.
So close.
Huh? It was
That's
the same.
quick reflexes though. Bam.
Same button, different page. Okay, cool. What I meant to say was normally you make a speculation and it's something, or that you have a character on your top 5 or whatever that's going to come out, and I'm like, oh my god. But I'm so happy Quinn's in chat for that one too.
Is he here? That's so good.
But now that Phantom X is on your list, it might mean that I actually get something that's on my list, which would be very exciting.
Well,
listen, you said Phantom X is on your list. I'm not.
No,
I'm not going to hear any argument about it.
we've both been asking for Phantom X for a long time, but
Yeah.
there was others like I'm trying to think of other ones that you really wanted that you've gotten here, like Scarlet Witch and Hood.
Oh yes.
Not Wiccan yet, but
No Wiccan yet. No Quentin Quire yet. But you know, I also did get Magic. Was way up there for me.
that was the one
did
I was
forget
thinking.
that. And I feel like
Phantom X.
I would love Phantom X to be. Actually, I want him to be honestly kind of like his own wave. Like you have Phantom X with Eva spaceship, you have Phantom X and Cluster, and then Evil Phantom X, and then Professor X and Phantom X's body just walking around on Geneva.
Phantom X wave. Jeez.
Right, just a whole Phantom X wave.
We've mentioned it before that we really think Phantom X makes a lot of sense to have Eva as a grunt model. Just it fits it so perfectly.
Apocalypse as well. Tisdale mentioning Apocalypse, I think we've talked about Apocalypse quite a bit. In that, I think you know, he's like another Dormammu leader where he gets to add additional abilities to people and makes them horsemen, which would just be so dope.
I want that so bad. That sounds amazing.
Right.
It could be like a gem upgrade card, like you put it on there. This character is now the Horseman of Famine, and maybe like it costs them an extra threat, and they get like this additional superpower or something like that. Would be so cool.
Rhett too saying that he would have so many T-shirts. We could finally have a character that has a Magneto was right T-shirt, and
he's the one that started it. He was the OG Magneto was right. That was his whole thing. Quentin Quire is such a good character. I hope they don't go with the like the most recent X-Force run costume, because that's just, I want him in like what he looked like in the beginning when he came around during New X-Men.
Yeah, I also don't want him to be giant ball of energy Quentin Quire that he was for a while. I do not want to see Cloud Quentin. But yeah, anyway, we're already like way off track. It's you know it's a good speculation episode when we're already this far off track. But the other things that we haven't seen revealed yet that were revealed initially at Adepticon was the new Ultron, as well as the Wakanda terrain and terrain rules. So very excited for that. We've recently had kind of an influx of Wakanda games recently, with Claw not necessarily actually involved in that sentence at all, but specifically in Baku. Dupe would be an 8 threat. I actually really like that.
Dupe, oh my gosh, Dupe's amazing.
But we haven't received these terrain rules yet, or what they're a part of, or any more information on the Wakanda terrain set. Being able to use and see and play on that Wakanda map, or map, right? Not map. At Adepticon was also super dope, so I'm hoping for some more information there. But, Dan, first up, games played and hobby thoughts. What have you hobbied recently? It's been a hot minute since we've been here.
Oh my gosh, for real.
There's probably a lot there.
Well, speaking of Claw, I did just get my Claw model finished the other day. I was going to use him on Tuesday, but he's ready to go now. Super fun model to paint. He was intimidating at first. I ended up building him before the directions were out online. They were a little delayed there, but it wasn't nearly as bad as I thought it was going to be without directions. M'Baku was a typical model. He went together super easy. Claw took a little bit more brain power, but it still got him together just fine.
Mhm.
Super cool model. Love the design. The coming out of the Echo. Can't wait to see how he is on the table. I saw him a bit. Did you use him against Lindsay in that game?
I did.
The
Yep, I played Criminal
Criminal
Syndicate
Syndicate?
with him and Scientist Supreme Modok as the leaders with versatile strategy. So that when,
Yeah.
dude, M'Baku beat my face off in that
I
game.
He had one monster turn I remember where I think he had enough
He
power
attacked
to
4
do
times.
his spender
Yes.
twice, to do the knob carry twice, and then
Mhm.
throw stuff. He's can be brutal when he's got a little bit of. It doesn't even take that much power. I think it's maybe is it 6 to do his spender twice? I forget
I think
exactly,
so, but
but
because he gets the
either
follow up
way,
with a builder, like he can get that power back.
yes,
Um, so, and I think it was on a recently flipped turn. I think she moved him up a little far, which, as we know, if you've watched, oh yeah, the power phase on Tuesday nights, when someone moves a leader up first, I pounce on it pretty hard.
yes.
So I dazed M'Baku early, and then the next round, M'Baku was full power and just obliterated a lot of my team.
Yeah, it's 4 power for Wrath of the Jabari. So you need 8 power to do it twice in a turn. But you don't even need to start with that because
Correct.
the avalanche is pretty easy to get off with a wild and a hit
Hmm.
to follow up with the knob carry attack, which you're good chance you're going to get some more power back and do it again and then have power to throw. Especially the throw only costs 2.
And
Oh, I can't wait to try him out.
that's so weird with his affiliation ability too, right? If you need a wild and a hit, it just means you need a wild. Oops,
Yep.
just a wild.
And something to change into a
And
hit.
no
So
skulls, yeah.
not all skulls.
Correct.
But yeah, he's a bruiser. I'm really excited to try him out, especially when we get the next versions of Black Panther and Killmonger.
Hmm.
Are like I'm sure M'Baku's already been a really fresh breath of life into the Wakanda faction, but those two I think are going to really be the icing on the cake because then you can build an almost entirely Wakanda roster.
Yeah, because we're at
If you could
4-5 now.
6 with M'Baku.
6 with M'Baku. Who am I
I know you don't
forgetting?
like to count Storm, but technically she is.
Oh no, it's not that I don't like to count. I just regularly forget about her in that.
Oh, and then
Yeah,
just throw Bucky in there because he's a
he's the White
honorary
Wolf. Yeah,
Wakanda. So
and
like,
then Claw.
well, you got. Oh yeah, there's 6 now. Plus 2 makes 8. Yeah, Bucky would be 9.
No, Claw's
And
not involved, and he's not in the affiliation. I just throw that out
did I
there.
say Claw?
I said
Yeah,
Claw.
just for fun, you
Oh,
could
gotcha.
throw him in there. Your splash,
But
whatever you want in that 10th spot, Dormammu, I guess.
Emma Frost, just in case you want to go a completely different affiliation.
Right? Cosmic Ghost Rider, just because why not? Your
Yo,
next highest is a 4 anyway.
I don't necessarily hate that at all, actually.
So that was another experience we had. Our most recent game, I took Cosmic Ghost Rider, and
Mhm.
he's awesome. And I completely missed one of his best superpowers. I completely forgot he has essentially got your back.
Cosmic got your back. Yeah. Honestly,
Oh
that
my god!
that makes him a great Wakandan, just like Winter Soldier. Attacks
Oh,
off
have both
activation.
of them in there. Oh,
So, and when you were playing Cosmic Ghost Rider, I got to finally try out M'Baku for myself, and I will say the wombo combo of Usurp the Throne and Chieftain of
nope.
the Jabari
Mm-mm.
on a Wakanda Forever turn was just awesome.
That was brutal.
Awesome.
You're like, all right, I'm gonna usurp the throne. Cosmic Ghost Rider. I'm like, I got 9 health. I count skulls as successes right now.
Hmm.
I'm like, he should be okay. And he has 4 defenses across the board. He should be fine. I think you did have to use all 3 of attacks to take him down,
And
but
not just all 3 of
did
his
it.
attacks, too. It was also Wakanda Forever turn where Shuri was trying to get
Oh,
into
yeah.
action and Okoye was vibranium spearing at him. It was just like, all right, I can do this. I can do this.
It still took a lot to bring him down, but like at a 6th threat, it should be hard to bring him down. 9 health is no joke.
Correct. Yep. I think it took 2 spenders, too. I think it was 2 Black Ops. It might have been just 1, but yeah,
Oh,
there was
because
a lot involved.
Wakanda Forever has to be a power 0 attack, doesn't it?
Right. So that one was vibranium weapons, but the other 2 attacks he got
Yeah, he
might have been
rolled
both Black Ops. No, I might have
so
gone
many.
vibranium both times because the Pierce and I think he's 4s across the board. Cosmic
Ghost
Ghost
Rider,
Rider.
yeah,
I do like that Killmonger's builder is energy. I think that comes in play a lot
that's pretty
more than it
cool.
probably should. and with Pierce on it too, usually targeting one of the weaker defenses that people have, that particular combo. So effectively what those does, if you're not familiar with all of M'Baku's cards, on someone else's turn, M'Baku can spend some power to move towards an ally and then give them +2 dice on all of their attacks this round.
Yeah.
Usurp the Throne also gives Killmonger +2 dice on all attacks against that particular target this round. Wakanda Forever, now I am Vibranium Weaponsing for 9 dice on a builder for free with Wakanda Forever, or not for free, but for another power of Wakanda Forever. And then some, I think it was 11, 13. So the first one was
It was
Wakanda
like
Forever.
9, 13, 13 or something like that.
Yeah. Yep.
It takes a bit to set up, and it does cost 3 of your 5 tactics cards to do it. But for 2 victory points and your opponent's biggest character knocked out, or if it's a little bit later in the game KO'd, absolutely worth it.
Well, and it's one of those things, right, where we're seeing a lot of Hulks, we're seeing a lot of Guardians Thanos, we're seeing a lot of these big, heavy, just characters out there that create a lot of devastation. Malekith, for instance, as well. And being able to spend, honestly, 3 tactics cards on one, if you need it, on someone like Hulk or Cosmic Ghost Rider that you really want to put down, I think it's a little bit more viable to use all 3, but they're still useful separately if you don't need all 3.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's optimized and overwhelming, but Helios is only 1 character and 1 card, so I can get the comparison there.
All right. I like the idea of using it right after you've done some work to daze Immortal Hulk and then following it up real quick in the next round with that combo wombo and taking him down again. So he doesn't get to heal up a whole bunch.
Well, and just M'Baku in general is so movable with those places off of, is that just a spender, right? That he gets the place, or does he get like a pursuit or something on,
From M'Baku?
Yeah. Oh, thanks, Rat. I can turn myself up.
He's got pursuit on the knob carry, his builder.
That's right.
And advance towards this target short with a wild.
Yes.
Yeah, and then Avalanche, you get advance short, then do a knob carry attack after Wrath of the Jabari. That attack is insanely good.
Real good. Real good.
Like the only downside to it is the range 2, but if you're pursuing before that, again, it takes a little bit of setup, but range 2 is still 3 inches. It's not like a tiny range.
Well, and the thing is, too, that there's a lot of usefulness. So when adding a new character, and especially a new affiliation leader to an affiliation, it can be a little precarious in that you don't want to make it overwhelming or underwhelming, right? Claw being added to Criminal Syndicate wasn't the greatest of timing after they just got another affiliation leader that was also very, very good. For cheaper, too. Claw's 5, if I recall.
Yes.
I think it's kind of exactly what Wakanda needed. I think the follow-up of the train and the train rules, as well as the new probably affiliation leaders that are coming in that big terrain display box thing, are still hoping for a Killmonger leadership.
Yeah, theoretically, they could both be leaders.
Correct.
Realistically, even. I don't know if Wakanda needs 4 leaders out of 8 characters, but variety's the spice of life, right? I could definitely see that Black Panther not being a leader, but that Killmonger is a leader, I think would be a really cool mix-up.
And so we've talked about this before, too, that I really, 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 really want Killmonger as a leader.
Yes.
So when that box got announced, I was like, finally, we're going to get Killmonger as a leader. They need another leader. And then M'Baku ended up being a leader. And I was like, oh, no, Killmonger. My Killmonger dreams.
Dash.
But
you can still get it.
I'm still holding out hope. Or like a Weapon X deal where it like becomes, a lot of people have been the Black Panther over time.
That's true. But I think Claw following up Scientist Supreme MODOK so soon doesn't take Killmonger being a leader off the table at all.
Right.
Helps keep it on the table. I think you know what I mean.
Yeah. It still makes it like, hey, dude, you can have multiple releases where there's, more new leaders. I don't dislike that.
Have your cake and eat it too.
I think with Criminal Syndicate, it's a little bit different, right? Because anyone has led a crime job before. So they honestly probably should have a lot of leaders. Same with the Avengers. Also and the X-Men. pretty much all of the affiliations that I play, I guess. Is
What
what I mean.
X-Men hasn't been a leader of the X-Men at some point?
Wolverine.
Like they could
Moving on.
definitely make Wolverine a leader. They could definitely make Rogue a leader. She led them for a while.
And didn't she lead the Brotherhood for a hot minute?
Probably at some point.
Or maybe she was just in the Brotherhood. But yeah, let's get into the meat and potatoes. What did you hobby over these last few weeks?
I got
Something I would
claw
never
painted
ask
up.
Dr. D.
Right. Yeah, the claw's painted up. M'Baku is on his way. He's definitely. Is he all base? He might be all base coated at this point. He needs a bunch of highlights and stuff, especially to pick out the white. And there's a lot of cool like white fur and things on him. What else? I've been working on a bunch of Shatterpoint stuff, pinging a lot of clones, Luminar and Barris. The
Turned out to be
networks.
very good in Shatterpoint. Barris always adding those extra
Barris
dice was just like,
especially.
what do you mean?
She's really cool. Already, so Rogue led the X-Men there a brief time, early 2000s, because I remember there was this really cool issue where Wolverine took her into the danger room and like gave her like trial by fire kind of thing. Like it was like down to the two of them and they had to like basically win, but the danger room turned into like this cityscape and Rogue ended up beating Wolverine by pocket sand. Actually pocket pepper.
Yeah.
Pocket pepper. She threw a handful of pepper in his face and it overwhelmed his senses, and she won the little matchup, and she was the leader for a hot minute. Not super long, but a while.
All right, Rhett. Obviously, I'm grasping at straws here, but said that Wolverine has a whole show about leading the X-Men. But what was that show called? What was that show called? Wolverine
and the X-Men?
And the X-Men. So obviously, he's not part of the X-Men. That's the exclusion to the rule. He can't lead something he's not in because it was Wolverine and then the X-Men.
There was also a comic series for a while called Wolverine and the X-Men, where
Once
he
again,
was the headmaster of
and
Jean Grey's
the
school
X-Men.
for gifted youngsters,
Right.
and was the leader.
No, he was the principal.
He was the lead. What else is a principal besides the leader?
The superintendent's the leader.
For the business part, sure.
Okay, so Wolverine was in charge of day-to-day operations, but not the leader. He was assistant to the regional leader of the X-Men. So when I pocket pepper Tim, you can't be mad, just staying in lore.
I don't know if Tim has super senses like that. I'm not sure how much the pepper is going to affect him, but you could try it.
Oh, it was
if you're fighting over to lead the X-Men. Like ground black pepper.
That's because it overwhelmed his senses. No, I thought it was the Dale dribble, like, pocket sand, like that's what.
Well, I said pocket sand at first. I was like, oh no, actually it was a handful of ground black pepper, and she threw it in his face, and he was all like, ah! His eyes were, he couldn't see and he couldn't smell, and then she, superhuman punched him or whatever.
Yeah. Yep. Southern hospitality. But, all right.
Exactly.
So as far as stuff that I have hobbied.
What have you hobbied?
Well, guess what? I've primed several models over the last few months. Some might even say an actual definition of several, as in more than 3, but probably less than many.
Wow,
actually,
like
it probably
a
was
Shatterpoint
many.
squad?
A Shatterpoint and Claw and a Baku, I think I primed. And I painted part of a wall in the bathroom.
Painted part of a wall in the bathroom?
I added a coat of paint to the wall in the bathroom. I used some white scar to prime it first. Apparently that's not a good move, but it's what I knew.
Okay.
Some bathroom terrain, yes. We're doing another Ant-Man scene that's on like a kitchen sink or on a bathroom sink with like cotton swabs and jars of cotton balls and toothbrushes and like a rolled up tube of toothpaste and stuff. It should be pretty good.
Surprisingly, a toilet is a size 2 piece of terrain because it's real heavy.
Okay. I'm not fully against that. They're so awkward to move too. Definitely not size 1. I don't know. That means it's hitting as heavy as a car though.
I know that's the joke, Tim.
No, we're gonna hash this out.
Because like, what is it? The skid steer? What do you call it? What do people usually call it?
Size 3. They
Not
probably call it
everybody
a
knows what a
bulldozer or
skid
dump
steer
truck.
is. Yeah, the little
Snowplow.
forklift, but it's got a plow on the front.
Yeah.
It's the size of a car, but is size 3 instead of 2 because it's real heavy.
That's right. Um,
It's my scientific analysis of that one.
so next week, by the way, if any of you are going to GenCon, make sure to come up and say hi. I'll be there. I'll be on the event team for MCP with Nate GG and Mr. Tisdale, which should be an
Nice.
absolute blast. There's a bunch of MCP events going on, all sorts of organized play kits. A bunch of them like sold out. There's a Hell to Pay that's sold out. There's 3 What If events. There's an LVO qualifier. Speaking of, forgot to mention this at the head of the show, but a huge thank you to Frontline Gaming for sponsoring the network and the shows and streams. If you are at any point going to buy tickets for LVO or LSO, BAO, really whatever you're going to go to, whether it's tickets, terrain, mats, or minis, using our link, which will be in the show notes and is usually in chat, helps us out a ton and doesn't cost you a gosh dang thing. But nothing.
A bunch of nothing.
But leading into that, AMG is going to be big there. And at Adepticon, they were at Adepticon in a very big way. So we're hoping to see them out and at more of these larger events and just doing dope stuff.
I can't wait for Gen Con reveals. I'm so excited.
Well, and with MINISTRAVAGANZA, I guess more than a month afterwards, but like a month and a half.
Like a month and a half-ish, yeah.
But I do love their timing for MINISTRAVAGANZA this year. Last year it was like during ACO, right? While we were at ACO. If I recall.
There was they had it was supposed to happen then they postponed it, so they had some reveals at ACO.
That's right.
I remember specifically that's when they showed the Malkuth model because I lost my mind while on stream.
That's right.
Just when I was like, "Oh, this is amazing!"
Oh yeah, because I was playing against
regular
Nick Menard.
Yes, yeah, you were playing.
Renewal
But I
of vows.
believe the regular MINISTRAVAGANZA was sometime in September, like it is this year.
Well,
I think last year it got postponed to then. So then they were just like, well, we'll do this big reveal in the fall, and then we'll have our big reveal at Adepticon in the spring.
So that leads more, I guess, into what I was going for then, because I really like that, early September, kids are going back to school, fall's starting to leak in a little bit. All the baseball families from our particular area are finally gone, and you have some of those reveals. That's when every video game announcement comes out for the holiday season.
Yeah, you got all your
MINISTRAVAGANZA. It's such a huge hype time that I'm really excited for. I really like that.
Yeah. Radio, they said there's going to be a special MCP reveal just before Gen Con on the 2nd next week.
Mm-hmm.
But at Gen Con itself, I believe they said they're going to have more reveals. But maybe it'll just be MCP. I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah. I guess they've been revealing a lot of stuff for a lot of different games over the last few months, and MCP has been a little light there, so maybe we're working up towards something really dope like Phantom X definitely coming out and being 5 models in one box.
Yeah.
So, or maybe...
Buy that so hard.
Maybe it'll be another terrain packs that's just oops all motorcycles.
Maybe it could be that,
like big motorcycles and the trike motorcycles and one of the spiders and one with a sidecar and one that's oversized so it's size 3 terrain, and then a truck that has a bunch of motorcycles on it that are going to be delivered to somewhere.
Right, hear me out.
Mm-hmm.
At Adepticon, you had an interview with Will Schick, and he made it could be anything, even a boat joke, didn't he?
He did.
Maybe he was planting the seed. We didn't realize yet that there's going to be anything, even a boat terrain pack.
Maybe the boat is actually Eva or Evo, because that nervous system's also a spaceship, which is like an airboat.
Right.
Think about it. Not hard, though.
A few people in chat are saying Fantastic Four, which would be at MINISTRAVAGANZA would be amazing because Chuck made that call 2 years ago that the start of year 4 was going to be the Fantastic Four, and Fantastic Four characters like Dr. Doom and Silver Surfer, which I know a lot of people are saying whenever AMG has posts, people are like, yeah, but where's Dr. Doom? Where's Silver Surfer? I do really want
no
Dr. Doom yet is but it's Doctor Doom. Where is he?
Ooh, a boat could be rubble destroyed by our king Namor.
Oh yeah, yeah. Namor is another like very Fantastic Four connected character that could be like the big thing this year. Like 2 years ago was X-Men was like the big addition. This could be the Fantastic Four because there's so much to draw from with like the negative zone and the freedom. What is it? Not Freedom Force. What's the Foundation? When like
The Freedom
Fantastic
Foundation.
Is it Freedom? I feel like it's something else.
That had
Future
Spider-Man.
Foundation.
Future Foundation.
Oh, I got it.
We were
I got it just before I saw Radio say it. The Future Foundation. Oh, Dragon Man. He's a dragon.
He is a dragon.
He's also a man. He's a dragon man. That guy's super cool. Big purple dragon dude. There's so much they could pull from there. That could be a whole nother like subset, like where X-Men get the little X-Men logo on there. They could have like the Fantastic Four logo to say, hey, here's this cool stuff.
All I want is Doctor Doom and maybe Bagman.
Of course you want Bagman. Yeah, I mean, Doctor Doom would make pretty much any MCP player happy because it's a Doctor Doom.
Mm-hmm. And I think we've talked about it before, but a character I didn't really have a lot of appreciation for until the last Secret Wars. And then I was like, yo, okay, all right, I like this dude quite a bit. I hope that we get a giant wall thing at some point from that particular event.
Right? Molecule Man would be kind of amazing. He would be he could be a super high threat if you wanted to. And he's like like there's like no upper limit to his power except his like confidence.
Yeah. And whether Miles Morales gives him a cheeseburger or not. But
yeah, exactly. If he's hungry, he's not going to do so well.
Mm-hmm. But let's switch over a little bit to two characters that were revealed at Adepticon that we're really hoping are part of MINISTRAVAGANZA. Bishop and Iceman.
These two were. I mean, Iceman has been number one on my wish list since the game was announced, but Bishop has definitely been in the top 5 all the time. Maybe even like, well, once we got like Colossus, he bumped up. But I think it was like Iceman, Nightcrawler, Bishop, and then we got them and a bunch of others revealed at Adepticon. I'm so excited for.
Well, and here's the thing with these baby. Here's the thing with these two characters specifically. Both of these characters could be really high threats. Iceman might get like a Pyro treatment. Granted, Iceman's significantly more powerful than Pyro, but we could just get a couple beams, slows, and stuns with a 3 threat. We could get, I mean, Iceman is insanely capable of being a 6 or potentially even 7 threat. And Bishop as well, based on his power set, and he's always been a powerful mutant, but he could very easily be a 3, probably not a 3, but a 4, 5, or 6.
I feel like this never goes the way that I expected to. Like Gwenpool, I was like, she should probably be a 2, and then she was a 4, and it was like, wait, okay, so I'm way off. But like, I think based on their powers and what they're able to do, neither of them should be below 4, realistically. But it's all about balancing within the game. Like you could have a 3-point Bishop and have him work just fine. But like, I want them to feel powerful because they are, especially, I've said for a while, like I wouldn't be upset if Iceman was a 3 threat because that just means I can fit him into more lists.
Correct.
But I do want a powerful Iceman. I want my favorite character to be awesome. I want a 6 threat Iceman that is an Omega level mutant that just could wreck everything. Right. The thing is, they've said from the beginning that they're literally looking more at like the 90s versions of X-Men, which obviously hasn't been true across the board because like X-23 and Honey Badger weren't around in the 90s. But if they go with 90s Iceman, he literally wore a power reducing belt because he couldn't, like his powers were too much for him. So like they could kind of go with that version, have him toned down, more of a 3, maybe 4 threat. Or it could be like when Emma Frost took him over, that happened in the 90s when he kind of realized more of his potential, or when Mikhail let him realize more of his potential. Like there's a lot of ways they could go with it. We've seen some previews of what AMG likes to do with like ice-based powers. And like you said, there's a lot of slow, stun, stagger to represent them like getting slowed down by the ice or encased in the ice
Could
with
be like a
stagger. They have
Crimson
to break
Bands
out.
with adding an activated token or something along those lines. Like,
Yeah, because like I see a lot of like look at Clea's one ice attack. I think could be basically just taken for Iceman.
the Icky Talons.
Oh, icy tendrils, full
Tendrils.
on. Yeah. So like I could see Iceman having that same exact attack. It's the same idea where you get slow or stun or stagger depending on how many um
Wilds.
triggers you get. Um like I could see something like that. And then the other one would be Loki. We've seen he's got an ice power.
Well, in the model very specifically for Iceman,
Frost
we
Blast.
see him on the slide, right? So I think
He should have a place.
So I think he will, or maybe a medium movement or like a charge or something like that that has the ice slide in there.
I would love
Could see it
love
as
to
a
see him
tactics
have
card.
a place like but that works. Oh, what's the one? I think Captain America has
Oh,
it
the
where
ride
he can
along.
place somebody with him because
Yeah,
people ride along on the ice slides all the time.
yeah.
So like I would love to see him have a place and then like an ally within one of him can then be placed within one of them as well. And it doesn't I mean it could be I could see it feasibly being a 2 or 3 place cuz like his ice slide makes it move pretty fast.
Well, and we've seen how impactful to the game and those places are between Magic, the new Cosmic Ghost Rider, Gwenpool through Gutter Space,
Yeah.
places, and anything that really kind of like replaces using an action to move or attack are usually pretty popular and sought after abilities.
Oh yeah. I mean saving an action to move like Hulk's Gamma Leap can be huge. So I could see a really high powered Iceman that has like a place, maybe with a ride along thing. He's got a spender that can do all kinds of conditions. I think his builder should at least slow on a wild, if not automatically. He could definitely have like he could potentially have healing or damage reduction to represent his ice form, where he can just kind of get more moisture and reform his body. So like he could feasibly have a heal.
Hmm.
I don't see them going that way, but maybe. So like there's a lot of different ways you could build this character. Is he going to be more of a control piece with slowing and placing and whatnot, or is he going to be a damage dealer with crazy powerful ice attacks? Like we know that they love taking references from the arcade games like Berserker Barrage and Tornado Claw.
Yeah.
I would love to see like the giant ice ball that he makes in the X-Men one.
Oh yeah.
Like that would be a super cool attack. Or maybe if it's a tactics card, I don't know, but it could like that could also be a beam where he like makes a giant ice ball and it rolls into everybody or something. Like there's so
Um,
many that's one thing I love about one reason I love Iceman is because there's so much potential with his powers, especially in a game like this. He could fill almost any role feasibly.
right. And here's a very good point from Keebler, and probably why you're not going to get the ice slide, which is, yeah, people do ride on Iceman's slide all the time, almost as much as Gambit steals things. I think that's an
Started
incredibly
reading
good
that
point.
as you were saying it. That's amazing. He also then followed up by saying Iceman clearly should be a 10 threat, which I don't
You still
disagree,
feel them
but
every
I don't
game.
want it. I would, yeah, that's not gonna stop me. X-Men have a lot of cheap characters. Are you kidding?
So, and speaking of these two characters, obviously they're probably both going to be in a couple X factions, right? Bishop being an X Force and X Men, and
Should be, yeah.
what else? Is there anything else we could see him in? Weapon X?
Bishop?
No.
Well, their interpretation of Weapon X is a little fluid, so maybe I don't see him being Weapon X, but definitely he should definitely be Uncanny X-Men and X-Force.
Mhm.
He's been on at least has he been on a rendition of X-Force?
Yes.
I can't think of one off the top of my head, but probably somewhere. Yeah,
There
he
was
fits
the
that
one
theme,
after
too.
was it Mark Remender? No. What was
Rick Remender.
Rick Remender. The one after him had Bishop.
Oh, okay, cool. So
Or maybe
yeah,
they were going after Bishop. Because maybe that's when Bishop went crazy and he was going to try kill Hope or whatever. Also, Hope. I wouldn't mind seeing Hope.
I sorry, just saw Radius comment at Bobby Spender. I terraformed a planet, loser. That's true. He was been going through like an existential crisis because of that. He's like, yo,
Yeah.
I helped terraform Mars. I am so much more powerful than I've ever given myself credit for. Which is actually have the new astonishing Iceman, the issue 1 waiting for me at Bearded Dragon. I gotta pick that up soon.
Keebler, yeah, I think you're right. I think there's been a couple different X-Force teams that have been all about stopping Bishop. I think both pre
He's
and
had some
post Messiah
issues.
Complex. Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking
But
of,
Iceman, I don't see him anywhere but Uncanny X-Men.
that's where you're wrong.
If we
I-
do eventually get Fantastic Four, he was a member of the Fantastic Four for like an afternoon, so he could definitely be part of that affiliation. Also, I think we could see him in Defenders, kind of representing the champions when he was on that team for a while when he quit the X-Men in like the 70s, 80s. So like there's no champions yet, but I could see him potentially being on the Defenders to represent that.
I think you're missing one of his major groups.
Sentinels?
Yes. Also, obviously, he's absolutely going to unlock Dread Dimension and a Hellfire Club. But no,
Well, yeah. What am I missing?
Spider-Man and his amazing friends. So
Oh my god, how did I forget Web Warriors?
Once we get Firestar, that's gonna really round out the trio. Anyone can be the person that sends in the rent check, and it'll be pretty dope.
Oh my god, I can't believe I didn't think of that. Spider-Man is amazing friends. That should absolutely be a tactics card that interacts Iceman and Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I would try to use that every game, whatever it does. I don't care.
Yep.
That's so awesome.
It prevents one Craven from turning into Spider-Man.
So he'll definitely be Uncanny X-Men, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
He could be Defenders. He could be Web Warriors. But like they said, they say they usually try to pick characters at like one point in time, but then we have like Colossus as X-Men and Brotherhood and things like that. So sky's the limit, really.
Well, like I'd love to see like a Phoenix 5 with Colossus and Magic and Cyclops, Namor and Emma Frost. I think that's a real long shot, but maybe as like an OP kit or something would be super cool.
Yeah, or I mean, again, that could kind of be filled with a tactics card potentially.
Yeah. Yep.
Again, an upgrade specifically for those characters so they could have the Phoenix Force for another threat or two and just make them awesome.
So what's your big Chuck Caw? Nope, wrong one. Maybe it's this one? Nope.
Oh, sorry.
There we go.
Hey, we got there.
I know what button it is now.
My big Chuck Caw
as far as Iceman's threat level. What do you think it will be? Not necessarily what you want it to will be. What do you think it will be?
I think it will be 4. I think 4 is a pretty safe bet. I think that'll give us a relatively powerful Iceman without going too crazy. I think he'll be a 4. I wouldn't be surprised if he was a 3 or a 5, honestly.
I think actually I probably agree with you that I'm kind of leaning towards 4 with him. I think that makes the most sense. A blend between suppressed and not suppressed. Yes, there's an H in that word because I don't know how to English. But now, as far as Bishop, though, we were talking a little bit before we went live as far as a lot of what he has going on. So, because initially in my head, I was like, I think we're going to see I think we're going to see with Bishop what Beta Ray was to Thor. I think we're going to see a better version of Cable with Bishop.
Okay.
With Cable. Because he's got the guns, right? That's the main go-to. So a range 4 or range 5 energy attack that probably incinerates.
Does he have guns on his model? I can't remember.
Great question.
Because I know they had you could give him hands or energy hands, right? And then he could have
energy hand and
curls
gun.
or bald. Okay. I couldn't remember if the gun was on there because I mean he usually has the gun almost always, so that he should have a basic energy gun attack.
Mm-hmm. And then,
there's so much looking at stuff online. Bishop's one of my favorites. I felt like I knew him pretty well. He's got a lot more superpowers than I thought. Like he has accelerated healing, minimal super strength, minimal super speed, minimal super stamina, endurance, near invulnerability, in addition to his energy absorption and blasts from that.
So, and canonically, has that energy absorption been like energy attacks, or can he do that off of like punches and stuff too, or is it just blasting? My understanding, or like my memory, was always that it was like just specifically energy attacks, and you had to kind of punch them down. But
Okay, so it says Bishop can absorb most types of energy, including magic and psychic energy, either ambient or directed towards him, and can project the energy from his body in the form of concussive blasts. So I remember there was, I forget if it was from the TV show. Oh no, it was from the TV. It was from the cartoon when he first meets Wolverine and they're fighting, and he's like, "Absorb these" with his claws. I believe like if you punch Bishop, similar to Sebastian Shaw, he could absorb the kinetic energy from that. Um, and that's where when he absorbs that energy, that's when he can get more healing and super strength and speed and all the other stuff. He doesn't have that just normally. I mean, he's normally a huge buff dude,
yeah,
so like he's already gonna be stronger than anybody else out there.
he may have a universal that lets him gain extra power after taking damage. Yeah, so depending on what threat level they make him, I think that makes a lot of sense. Kind of like
Yeah,
Red Guardian getting extra
that's one
power
thing.
for certain types of
And
damage.
Rhino, I think it should be any type of yeah. If as long I think it should be. I forget if there's a general term for it, but like if he takes damage and isn't dazed, he gains an additional power, kind of thing, like Rhino and Red Guardian have, and Sin. But it could
Right.
be even more than that. It could be like he gains two more power, or he just gains power in the power phase. I don't really see that one happening.
I was
Um,
thinking more towards what Rhett just said in chat, where like he can absorb energy damage for every wild he rolls, or something along those lines, or like a reverse pierce against magic and energy, which we've
like a reverse
seen.
sap.
Uh, well, a reverse pierce where he like takes less damage from it, and then
Yeah,
yeah,
but also gains energy at
yeah.
the same time, gains power at the same time.
But
I'd
there's a
love to
lot of different
see
ways to.
his.
I would almost like to see like almost like Killmonger tokens after taking energy attacks. Like he has a resource he can spend, or like genetic samples, or like he has some things that he can do and power up based on the energy that he's absorbed. Is what I would really like to see with him.
You know,
Um,
like Mr. Sinister genetic tokens.
exactly like that. Yep. Where if he
I'd
takes an
also like.
energy attack and he does convert a thing, he gets one of those, which makes it weird. Where it's like, well, you don't want to attack him with that stuff anyway, but
Yeah,
having some type of effect there to be able to receive them defensively and offensively would be real good. I love those mechanics. I love things that really make them special instead of just like I just get one more power or I convert. Claw had some really interesting functions with his energy absorption stuff.
I was just looking at Claw because I was about to say Bishop should be our first 5 energy defense character, but I was like, wait, does Claw have 5 energy defense? He does.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I was thinking of this morning, before we discuss exactly who we're going to talk about today, I was thinking about Bishop and like what kind of things I think he could do that could be cool. Is that maybe he'll have something like Super Giant's Ethereal, but for energy
Mm-hmm.
attacks, where he can't take more than 1 damage from an energy attack, but
Ooh,
then still gains a bunch of power or one of those energy tokens or something. And then like, I'd love to see his builder work like Sentinels, where you can pour more power into it to make it have more strength, as he's using it more of the energy he's absorbed to blast you back.
yeah, yep. I completely agree. I actually really like that a lot. I was thinking maybe like Blob too. How Blob has that like you hit him and he can kind of push you back. Same thing, but with an attack, like almost like a I never miss. If you take an energy attack or something like that, you can deal 1 damage back if you pay 1.
Hmm, I like that. Also, looking at this list of his powers online, apparently he's a resistant to most poisons.
Oh, he's a 5 threat guaranteed.
So immune to poison, 5
Hmm.
threat. I mean, we got it. We
Better
can
cable.
definitely once we know what this threat is, we can completely design him from there.
Hmm.
He should be like 7-6 for stamina, because he's a big tanky boy. I would say 3-5-4 for defenses. He's going to be really hard to bring down.
So a couple things Otis said about Bishop real quick. First off, a better cable so we could play him with cable would be awesome. I first off completely agree. And then
Yes, the time traveler duo,
mhm,
they should have a tactics card together. Absolutely.
it's like cat and mouse, but they just teleport into your next game.
In your next game, it's like a campaign. Your next game, you get Cable and Bishop for no threat because they
Right.
teleport, but you don't get them in that last game.
You got to do it like round 5. Like you're pretty certain you're gonna get it. Listen, it's still a risk, but there's
Right?
certainly
You're
a
gonna
time
play
to use it.
down like 10 threat to play up 10 threat in your next game. Worth it.
Also, Buffalo Spin Shot Dad Packs says, thank you so much for that gift sub, giving that to Kill Panic. We really appreciate that.
Yeah, that was awesome.
But
Also, welcome in, Kill Panic.
But yeah, hella soul tokens being a way to do that. I think all of those kind of examples for the token stuff, we've seen a couple different ways. I'd be really interested to see what they've learned from those mechanics and how they might try to blend them into something like that.
I think like Iceman, Bishop has a lot of potential to go a couple different ways. I think the most obvious route is he's going to be a tanky, hard-hitting character that I really like. Possibly even size 3 because he is a
Ooh.
really large person. I remember there was back in the days of Wizard magazine, they used to have when they would do interviews with writers and artists, they would ask them like who would win in a fight between these two, and one of them was Bishop and Professor X. Just realized I'm mistaken. It was in the letters section of an X-Men comic, not Wizard magazine. And I think it was Scott Lobdell, the writer at the time, was like, "Oh, Bishop all day." He's like, "I don't care what Professor X has. One punch from that man, Professor X is going down." And it's like, well, he can also absorb psychic energy, so Professor X is gonna have a really hard time against that.
I didn't know the psychic energy thing, and because energy and psychic and magic are kind of two very distinct different things, they could probably do quite a bit with that.
Right? Yeah. So like he's not you can't be moved in any way from psychic or energy based superpowers, because he absorbs all the energy instead. Like sure, he's not going to push him back because he's absorbing those blasts anyway. I think he'll have I could see him having a weird amount in common with Supergiant.
Yeah.
And Blob.
Yeah, the
and
reactive
Claw.
pain. Yeah. And Bullseye, parting shot on everything if it's energy.
That would be awesome. Yeah. There's a lot of different ways they could go, and he could range from, I think realistically 3 to 5 threat. I think 3 or 4 is most likely.
Kill Panic just made a very clever joke that said the main problem with Bishop on the tabletop is that he can only move diagonally.
That's so good.
Buffalo Spin Shot Dad Paxis made that joke earlier, and I didn't get it. It took a second time.
It.
Yeah. That's so good. That's clever.
Oh, I like that a lot. No, but like I think realistically, a 4 threat again. I think he could fit that spot really well.
Easy 5, immune to poison.
Well, he's a push 4 because he's immune to poison.
Oh,
but he is 4 threat.
Gotcha.
Right? Yeah.
Yep.
So too many 4 threats. Yeah, I think that's where he fits like power level with other characters out there. He feels like a 4 threat to me, but I think there's a pretty good range. We've seen AMG surprises before where it's like characters should definitely be this power level and then they're not, and it's like, oh, okay. It's all about the design space, right? It's not so much about what they do in the comics, but what they do on the table determines a lot of their threat.
I completely agree. And this was a factoid that I did not know that you told me before we started today. Gateway is Bishop's grandfather?
Yeah, or great-grandfather, somewhere around there.
So maybe a Tactus card that allows like a size 4 teleport or a range 5 teleport or something like that would be...
Right. Hey, Granddad, help me!
Yeah. But it can move everyone.
Would be just a cool X-Men card in general. Like, it's not specific to Bishop, but the X-Men just like, Gateway call for help, and he's there spinning his thing, and they get to move somewhere. It could be like an Avengers Assemble, but for X-Men. I know they kind of have that with To Me, My X-Men already, but maybe it'd be more targeted then.
Tactics cards for Iceman. Anything that you would really like to see in there?
Oh, something to do with his the fact that he's a certified public accountant.
Okay.
I don't know what, but something to do with numbers.
Hear me out.
And also,
hear me out. A new character exclusive advanced R&D just for Iceman, where he can move power around because he's a certified public accountant.
It's so good. I was looking at on his article on Fandom. It said, where to go? Abilities. Bobby's a certified public accountant, although he has been known to be a cheater in exams. Which fits him so perfectly.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, so like I can't. I'm trying to think of like he could have like some huge like flash freeze tactics card that like um puts slow on everybody within anywhere from 1 to 5. Maybe you
Mhm.
could spend more power to increase the radius of that. Kind of like that new claw tactics card that is an A5 attack. We could have something like that, but it does statuses. Or maybe the more power you spend, the more like slow,
Yeah.
stun, stagger kind of thing.
I mean, we could just see an improved version of Pyro, right? But with like slows on AoEs, and if people are already affected by stuff, like he chains
Yeah.
it. And I do.
I'm
Really...
assuming he's gonna have slow stuff, so I think he'd be a good fit for A Force with She-Hulk.
Oh yeah.
We didn't ask
Or
about that yet, but
in friendly neighborhood spider team,
yeah, yeah.
because it just gets you more places if he's constantly applying slow to people.
Especially if he is a web warrior, for him to benefit from all webbed up would be amazing.
Yeah. I actually don't
or
like
the
that at all.
ice slide could be a tactics card. Maybe he'll get a big movement out of it, but only be able to use it once a game. And again, I really hope he brings somebody with him. I
Yeah.
think would be very cool.
One person that he could bring with him, Kill Panic makes a great point, is why are they making a mini for Iceman but not the other Top Gun pilots? So oddly enough, maybe he'll have a Goose card.
We could get Maverick on Weapon X for sure.
Mm-hmm.
He's really cool.
Ooh, an upgraded all webbed up, like a personal all webbed up, like anyone that's slowed around him. Ooh,
Oh, I
or
like the
area.
AoE protection from Cinerate, kind of like Crew of the Milano. Like you're immune to these effects; they're healed, and you're immune to them for that round. Again, there's so much potential with what he can do. Bishops. What about bishop specific tactics cards?
Bishop specific tactics cards. This is where I think the reactive attack comes in, as far as absorbing the energy and putting it back as a counter. I think that's a tactics card, probably not a regular ability. Oh, but now I'm thinking of just all the other counterattacks out there, like Black Widow or Baron Zemo. Or maybe if he gets attacked by one of those, he can spend 2 to roll 3 dice or 5 dice or 4 and do X amount of damage back. That would actually probably be a really good way to do it.
That'd be really cool.
I
just thought of another one. To do with his time travel, like he knows the future, so he could potentially have rerolls in places, attack or defense.
Maybe a weapon-based one, like the illicit tech, where he has some
cards could even be a boat.
Oh my gosh, they really could be.
Oh yeah, like futuristic weaponry, and it's just like, well, that's more Cable to have like this giant gun, but Bishop really likes future guns too.
Yeah.
Or it could be like the robot arm he had for a while when he was chasing Cable through time trying to kill Hope.
Okay. All right.
He was a bad guy for a while.
I got it.
But you could only use that card if you put the bald head on him.
I have figured it out. We got it. This is how his attack back is going to work. It is a tactics card.
What?
It is a tactics card. Okay.
Okay.
But it refreshes whenever he takes energy or mystic damage.
Oh, I like that a lot.
So he could do it a whole ton.
Cards that refresh they're in a tough design spot because people either really love them or really hate them, because the ones that we have currently are all pretty strong and can refresh. So like, does it need to be real good?
Yeah, and they're honestly affiliation defining tactics cards.
Yes.
As far as why can I never magnetic refraction and the Ironbound books of Shumago Wrath.
Yeah, those are the two I was thinking of for sure.
Pay X power to refresh the card. Yeah, so I think and it would just get you a 5 dice attack back, energy or of the type that whatever. Maybe have like an armor form like Red Skull Master of Hydra, where you kind of have a token on there that says what type of attack you can attack back. That's probably overcomplicating it, but I think just a 2-point counter attack for one of those would be really cool. But I'm really excited to see how they pull him off, because there's a lot of different ways to do it.
I can't wait for that model. It looks so good. I love Bishop's design. It's so classic. He's had a couple different costumes at the time, but he almost always goes back to his classic look. That's just And he's going to be a regular on the X-Men 97 cartoon,
Right? I saw that.
which is really exciting. Also, Sunspot, of all people.
Hmm.
That one I don't really understand. They just shoehorned him in there, but okay.
Listen.
Person that was never even an actual X-Man, but whatever.
Whoa, he lived at the X Mansion. It's fine. As a young
Eh,
mutant. Right?
Not my favorite to be included, but I'm intrigued to see what they'll do with him because his personality can be good for writing.
I guess he can be a little hot-headed sometimes. All right, so so in addition to all that, this is actually one thing that I'd be very excited for to be revealed at Gen Con or in the near future, maybe MINISTRAVAGANZA. I loved all of the like minor league stuff they put out with Imperial and the Infinity League stuff, Renewal of Vows. Yeah. I really enjoyed that. I'm really hoping that we have something from them sometime over between now and the end of the year that's for that. And with a new wave of X-Men, maybe that's the time for something like that. Yeah. I would also love, obviously, to see something like that in Shatterpoint. We did get to interview Schick at Adepticon, and he certainly kind of alluded to that there will certainly be some type of, not in the same way that MCP does them, but some type of organized play for Shatterpoint.
It's alternate ways to play.
Yeah.
I would love to see with the X-Men wave to have like a defend/attack the X-Mansion mission. Because that's so classic X-Men. You know, like Juggernaut running in and smashing the mansion apart. Like, I can see something built off of that.
So specifically, after seeing the rework to all of the crisis cards, some being removed, a lot of the maps being rearranged, even a new one being added with Paranoia, Pummel's Populace, and some being removed, do you think that we will see new crisis in boxes going forward, or do we think that that'll be something that just kind of gets updated every once in a while?
I think it'll be more of like a living document on the website where if they're going to do anything new or different with the base crises, it'll be there. I don't think they're going to include them in boxes again. I think they kind of, I don't want to say learn their lesson, but I think they've moved on from that.
It certainly can be a negative play experience to feel like you have to buy something to be able to get what is a rather integral part of the game, for sure.
Right. I think it was a really good move to put them online.
Very much so.
To print and play.
I'd really like to get them character
in
cards.
Yes. I'd really like to get the set of cards on like in like a card pack, so I have them on like the card material instead of just paper I printed them out on at my job.
Well, and it's a weird thing where you have people that really like print and play, but they want physical cards. You have people that as soon as physical cards come out, they hate it. So like, I don't think that there's a answer there specifically for them where it's like a clear way to do it, because someone's always going to hate it. But I like both. I like being able to have it out there for free, and I too, I would really prefer to just pick up the card pack and have them physically and not have to worry about laminating or whatnot. I just want to throw it in a penny sleeve and call it a day.
I'd really like to see a yearly card pack with kind of updates where they can update characters and whatnot, but I know that kind of goes against their design philosophy, and they said as much in that article earlier this week where they kind of did like sort of like an FAQ clarification on like their design philosophy and whatnot, where they don't want to the changing characters rules or points is the last resort for them. They don't want to do it more than absolutely necessary, so I don't see a yearly card pack coming. Like we had the 2022 pack, it's been, or was that 2021?
It was.
The changes happened in 2021, but I think the card pack came out in 2022. So like I don't see that happening. I'd like to see that. I know a lot of people will be like, well, I don't have to buy all these cards a second, third, every year, but like you just can't have too many Brace for Impact anyway.
I do really love, and I think that's something we found at cons and stuff, that any alt art card is like just dope. Just candy. You want them.
Yeah.
It's like, right, but I'm going to use, like, when I use Brotherhood, I use the Blob Brace for Impact. When I'm playing Spider Foes or Crime Syndicate, I use the Rhino one. Like, I do really like that. I dig that quite a bit. I don't personally want to see yearly releases and updates, and I think their design philosophy and kind of how they were detailing it out in those documents, which I really appreciate. The FAQs is kind of one
I thought
spot
it was
where,
great.
and now that two are out, it seems like that's something they're going to continue, which is actually super awesome. So they're
Yeah,
doing
just
a
like
lot of really good community work that I just heavily appreciate. But I
that
don't want to.
transparency and like developer update and explaining the philosophy behind it, and sometimes the logistics. Like they addressed like why don't we put instructions in the boxes anymore, and they said it could delay them up to a year. Like we could do it again, but all of the things in production right now would be delayed 8 to 10 months, and you just
Mhm.
wouldn't have new models for almost a year. And it's like, all right, never mind, not worth it.
But the main reason I don't want to see, and I really like their philosophy for not releasing stuff annually or like on a specific timeline, is because like the new Crisis cards came at a very, very, very good time when it was needed, it was wanted, and it breathed a whole ton of new life into the game without having some major, huge release. I think that
Yes.
they have a very good temperature on the community, on the competitive scene, on the casual scene, and what LGSs are doing, that it should come out when it needs to and not when it's October for just because it's October.
Right, and that I think they said that specifically. That they're not going to do. I think they even said specifically yearly updates just to do yearly updates
Hmm.
because they don't want to change it. They want to change it as little as possible so people don't have to track down like do I have the most up to date card? Where do I have to find all these rules online? They want it to be as out of the box as possible,
Yep.
which I appreciate. I think that's a good philosophy to have. I know a lot of people be like, "Well, what about, updating this character, that character, this character sucks, they need this character's too powerful, they need that." And it's like maybe they will cuz they have done little erratas here and there like changing Malekith,
Hmm.
um, you know, throwing another point of stamina on Spider-Man in the affiliation box, and like they do small changes do here and there, which is usually enough. I feel like there are very few characters that I feel like really need something.
Yeah, Rev.
I can think of like 4 out of 150,
The
so like their track record is great.
Right, and a lot of the updates from them too has been tactics cards, gems, things like that. As far as adding things to the ban restricted list, um, Rev Right Mad, the update that you will be getting for I already lost the name again. Magneto's magnetic
Refraction?
refraction is they're going to change it to be just like Ironbound Books of Shumago Wrath, where it only refreshes if one of your characters dazes or dies. Right,
I just
right.
don't understand why that card refreshes at all. It's already super strong. Once a game is already good enough, but to get it pretty much every round is just like just too much sometimes.
Yeah, I
If
mean,
I were to see a change to that card, I'd like it to just be like a Tactics card and used once.
well, and that's the thing with it is like I
Or
joke.
not as good. Reduce the range to 2 instead of 3.
Yeah, fair. Like I understand that. I think that I was just joking about that for the most part, but um, I think tactics cards like that very specifically get very bad once you have incredibly not bad, but they can be a little overwhelming feeling when you have people that play them very well. Right? So for
Yes.
magnetic refraction, you need to remember to use it. You need to activate Magneto early and often, and you need to make sure everyone's within 3 of him. And it just gives you cover, so just don't be timid. Roll all skulls, and you know what I mean. There's a lot of caveats with it that just really accelerates in high level play, but could seem just very
It's true.
poor for someone that's going to never have Magneto near any of their friends ever. Um, so, but yeah,
Yeah, I think it's one of the like Eye in the Sky as well is another one that seems really strong, and then they get to use it constantly.
well, and that was one I feel like we overlooked, and then we saw Vincent Kirchhoff use it at LVO, and it's like, whoa, whoa, though.
Right, yeah. And it's just they're not even faction specific, but character specific cards. Well,
Mhm.
I guess Ironbound Books is just faction specific, but like it's not doesn't mean you're going to see them every game by any means. So it's learning how to get around that and deal and like living with it. Like magnetic refraction is not going to change anytime soon.
Mhm.
So like you just have to know how to deal with it.
Now, I really like some of the changes they did. So, like, Kill Panic just kind of mentioned this about Brace, is I really like seeing why people use Indomitable over Brace and for why you're bringing it. And I think really impactful decisions in tactics card selection like that are very kind of neat because I'm always interested in seeing how people and why people use them. Like I know Keebler, for instance, will use Indomitable a lot more because it's mostly about making sure that his Magneto or some of his bigger characters or Juggernaut is not being moved or placed or pushed around, that they're getting on the spot and they're not moving. They don't necessarily care as much about the damage from a throw. They care about being removed from an objective.
Right. Because we know placement is so important in this game.
Mhm.
It's one of those higher level things I think that the best players are really paying a lot of attention to the placement and knowing where they need to be and stopping that from your opponent moving you around is really important. So Indomitable is one of those that I sleep on all the time just because when we're doing the power phase, I want to take all the faction specific cards I can and whatnot and show off these characters and what they do. And I often don't take as many of the generic cards that are objectively good.
Yeah.
And like Indomitable is one of those that I think it's restricted, right? Because it's one of those that can help every single faction, every model potentially can benefit from it, and it can be the different in big point swings. If if you're going to move this character off a point, so you claim it instead, on some objectives that could be a 4-point swing. Stopping that from happening can be massive.
Yeah. Yep. But thank you guys for being here. I know it's been a hot minute, but a whole lot of things happening here at the network. We've been streaming Bat Reps significantly more often for both MCP and Shatterpoint, as well as we've been playing a little bit of Hero Quest.
Yeah.
Huge thank you to Stefan, who mailed that to the P.O. Box. That's P.O. Box G, as in, gosh, I really want Phantom X in this game. West Oneonta, New York, 13861.
Truth.
We're all doing a bunch of things around the network. This Saturday at 5 p.m. is going to be our 24-hour stream.
Yeah.
So during the month of June, we hit our goal to our sub goal, as well as an overwhelming, hey, if this gets to 24 hours, we'll do a 24-hour stream, and you did it. So we're going to do it so that it's going to start.
Record time, too.
Yeah, for real. For real. But that'll be this Saturday, 5 p.m. Eastern. Having
really
wombo
excited.
combos of myself, Dan, Taylor, Ben from the Lost Omens podcast, as well as probably some other people stepping in and doing some other dope stuff. So that's going to be an absolute blast. Make sure you come for that. We're also giving away my own personal Ahsoka early release Padawan Ahsoka model for Shatterpoint.
One Ahsoka, please.
We gave away the Shatterpoint core box last month. This month is Ahsoka. You can go to professionalcasual.com/1Ahsoka, please, to sign up for that. It costs nothing. You just click a couple buttons. You can sign up every day. There are just a few days left before we do that drawing. And once again, a huge congratulations to Cliff Jumper for winning the core box.
July's almost over. That's crazy.
Yeah, summer has been absolutely flying by. Very specifically, these 2 J months, June and July, have just been like gone.
Way too fast. Too fast.
We also have some other cool stuff happening over on the Patreon at patreon.com/professionalcasual. Not next week, in 2 weeks, or the dates, 15th, 16th, 17th?
Oh, 7th, 8th, and 9th.
7th, 8th, and 9th. Yeah, that's what I meant. We're going to be away for that week, so there won't be any streams going up. But in lieu of that,
8, 9, 10.
8, 9, 10.
Sorry,
I thought
8,
it was
9,
Tuesday.
10.
That's why I said, yeah. So we will be releasing, Dan ran a game of, I want to say the 40K one, but it's not the 40K one.
No.
Soulbound.
Yeah.
So we had a new cast come in, newcomers, Mike, Rachel, Jess, but not that
Yes.
Jess.
A more different Jess.
A more different Jess.
We call her Red Jess because she has red hair.
But it'll be a 3-episode arc coming out where we're first trying out the game Soulbound. That's going to be, once again, 8th, 9th, and 10th over on the Patreon. And then those will make themselves available on the Patreon without being a member of the Patreon. So patreon.com/professionalcasual, where you can sign up there. You can just follow it. You do not have to sign up if you don't really want to, but you will be able to get those episodes for free.
It's a great time. You get to meet Wrenchmantha.
We don't bring it back up. But there is more.
We get to hear the story of Wrenchmantha. Sorry.
And that was the Fateful Night.
Yes, the adventure, the Fateful Night. And we did it in 3 parts.
And then that same cast of characters and players did a follow-up to that we just finished recording this past week. 9 episodes that'll be coming out on the Patreon eventually as well. So there's going to be a kind of a bunch of new, really dope stuff happening over there. So if you didn't know already, not only do you get video for all of our podcasts and episodes a week early for the ones that aren't live, there's a ton of other things there, including some of our very first shows, one-shots, mini campaigns for Pathfinder 2nd Edition. There's also a separate full show called the Slithering. I wanted to say Settling the Slithering really bad.
Settling the Slithering.
But that is a Pathfinder 2nd Edition game that I ran in conjunction with the Lost Omens podcast, our regular Pathfinder 2nd Edition podcast that Danny runs. That comes out every Monday. Slithering comes out every other Wednesday on the Patreon exclusively. First handful of episodes of that are on the YouTube. And just like with that, we also have 2 WFRP, Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 4th Edition actual play podcasts, and a Grim Podcast of Perilous Adventure, which is available where all good podcasts are sold, as well as Dan's own custom homebrew campaign for that called Settling the Southlands, which comes out every other week, not on Slithering Weeks, on the Patreon.
Yeah.
I feel like there's always a ton more to talk about. The Arachnid podcast. It's an Infinity podcast. Arachne podcast, which is an Infinity podcast. I mean, listen, man. But that is hosted by our own Dr. D, Dr. Dillon, Dr. Dylan Dyer, thy Dr. D, really whatever you want to call him. Our own Quinny Boy was even on it, and it was probably my favorite episode so far.
Quinn.
Really enjoy what they've been doing over there. That is, once again, about the Infinity Minis game that comes out every other Monday. In addition to that, Comic Book Rundown every Friday with Joe Gennaro and Ron Haynes. You can check that out on anywhere good podcasts are sold as well. And guys, we stream here all the time, every single day. Hobby Hangout on Monday, games, Baldur's Gate 3, all sorts of wild stuff, streamathons, and even more MCP and Shatterpoint games. So, yeah, whole ton. All right. Love you. Bye.
Love you. Bye.